Firstly, I think it's important to like state that, like Jacqueline said, my experience doesn't cover all young black men or women in England. But I grew up in a majority white neighborhood, so it's kind of different. I mean, it's interesting listening to the conversation because I feel like I have an element of safety where I live, because I reckon I can walk down the street like you guys were speaking about. People don't get chucked into the, well, people may or may not get chucked into the van anymore, and I haven't had that experience personally. But that's not to say it doesn't exist, because I know family members who have, and I know my father who has, or my cousin who has, and other people who face those problems daily. But it's being young and black is also can be quite challenging at times, because like you're born, you come into the world like almost naive, like it's all cool, there's green trees and it's sunny and there's rainbows, and then you're kind of like, oh my god, it's not.
It looks great, doesn't it, when you start?
It looks great. It looks great, and then it doesn't look so great, and you're like, oh, it's kind of an identity crisis almost, or some people, like however that came about for me. I mean, I've grown up in an environment where race has been talked about, and I've been enlightened to the injustices I may face or will face in institutions or interpersonally or whatever it may be. But like, that's not to say that I didn't and I wasn't impacted by certain things like George Floyd, which for many young people would have been a turning point. And when they're like, okay, it does happen. It really does happen. Like some of my friends, now they're out protesting and like waving flags for not just issues surrounding black people or racialized issues, but like environmentalism or LGBTQI rights or something like that. So that was the initiation, like the catalyst for many people, and it was for me as well. And so basically what I'm trying to say is like it can be challenging. Like it's always learning, navigating it is always adapting. It's new. The stories like Ben had about Stephen Lawrence, I don't have a story like that. I haven't got a friend who was murdered or I wasn't nearly beaten up. I mean, I've never had that. Some people do. I haven't. And maybe it's changed over 30 years for me, for someone like me, but it hasn't changed for some other people, some friends I know who grew up in Peckham. So I think there's an important like geographical element to it as well. So, and class, and there's a lot to it. But yeah, growing up, being a young black guy, it's interesting. It's good and bad. The culture's good. The vibes are good.
Yes.
The stuff that comes with being black isn't always good. But I guess that's a part of learning and adapting, and yeah.